Seems like a bunch of people got their pennies in a bunch over this story because it really went crazy. It did a lot of views on this particular story out of Sissonville, West Virginia, about that couple that you guys just saw on my screen. Well, we have some new information. I know some people that were kind of detractors that were coming in and saying, well, the information that I was putting out wasn't true. Let me tell you guys this. If you've watched my channel for any level of time, you know I have taken my time before I do these stories, and 9.9 times out of 10, everything that I put up in here is going to be accurate. So I would like to stand on that, put my stamp on it, and provide you guys some new information about these two disgusting, what we believe to be racist individuals. And this lady sitting here smiling in court. I guess she just think life is funny. But we're going to find out, because we're going to get these people locked up for what they did to 5 children. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of sources, and shout out to Save Our Children TV. I love it when people who advocate for children are in the chat, so much love. I need to give a couple of my sources because before I did this and people thought that I was lying. Well, I don't lie about anything, okay? Let me tell you guys this. My first source, WestVirginiaWatch.com. My second source this evening, WVMetroNews.com. My third source for information is coming in document form, and this is from datausa.io, and the tag of the information is Sissonville, West Virginia. So make sure you guys look that up because I think you're going to find this extremely interesting, okay? Now, newly obtained documents show Child Protective Services workers were told in August to promptly check on the children in Sissonville who were found last month living in a shed, as you guys can see from the pictures, right? Since everybody thought this was a lie, it's a hoax, it's not real, it's fake news, right? They were living in a shed without access to running water or a toilet. However, the state health department doesn't have travel documentation showing that CPS workers made contact with the children before police discovered the situation more than a month later. Kanawha County deputies arrested adoptive parents Donald Ray Lance on the right-hand side of the screen and Jean K. Whitefeather on the left-hand side of the screen, however you say her name, back in October on felony child neglect charges after a deputy found 2 teens locked in a shed with devastating conditions, including a pan on a tarp to serve as a bathroom. Let me say that again because that is effing disgusting. They used the bathroom in a pan on top of a tarp. Does that sound like these children were treated as humans, or does that sound like they were treated like some freaking workhorses or something? That sounds like slavery to me, right? Documents from West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, which oversees CPS, showed the department received a CPS referral on August the 25th about the family. So somebody saw something and said something. West Virginia Watch obtained paperwork using the Freedom of Information Act. So that's available for you guys to utilize. The referral said that it believed that the children are residing in a room attached to a barn, and the family may be using the children as slaves. A department supervisor recommended face-to-face contact with the children within 72 hours due to inadequate shelter. Regarding the travel documentation that was requested in this case, this documentation was not, NOT, was not included as these records do not exist. So it sounds like these people didn't give a shit and did not show up. This is part of their job. And if they're going to take children out of homes for whatever reason and put them into the foster care system, if somebody's to adopt them, they need to be vetted, they need to be checked, and they need to be checked often. Why would you just blindly just send kids off and just say, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore, and that's the end of it? That's ridiculous. And I think these people should start facing prison sentences. If you have a job and you're not doing your job, and this job is ending up in situations like this, it's my personal opinion, right? It says the documentation does not exist, says Amy Osgood, General Counsel for West Virginia Bureau of Social Services, which is housed in DHHR. A DHHR spokesperson did not provide any additional information showing CPS visited this home. Stacy Miller, a neighbor in Sissonville, said that she began calling CPS in May about a family down the road. She saw the kids out in the yard, their heads were down, forced to stand in a straight line, according to her words. I want y'all to think about all the slavery movies y'all have ever seen, and I want y'all to think about what's going on here. This is in 2024, and we got bullcrap like this going on. She witnessed what she called forced manual labor. She never heard back from CPS about her concerns. Other neighbors said the same thing. I'm supposed to do the right thing and call. She saw something, said something. That's what the AFC asked y'all to do, right? See something, say something. That's what she did, right? For a government entity that us as taxpayers fund to not feel like I was listened to at all, that's heartbreaking for me, according to Miller. The Sissonville case, which made national news, put DHHR leaders under increased scrutiny about how they're managing the overwhelmed child welfare system. The department, facing a class action lawsuit regarding its oversight of foster care, is failing to investigate many child abuse cases, failing to investigate many child abuse and neglect referrals within the required time frame. A DHHR spokesperson revealed in an email that CPS workers who make multiple visits per day to see children are not required to track individual addresses. Like, why not? That makes no sense. Okay? Now, I want to address something else, and I just want to bring this up real quick for those who are listening. I actually had people in my chat over the past week or so that confirmed to me that live in West Virginia or even familiar with the Sissonville area that actually told me that this area is a relatively racist town. In a sense of racism, when we're talking about racism, we're talking about just people that flat out don't like people of color, mistreat them and abuse them. That's what we're talking about, right? In this case, when you're talking about a system of racism, forced labor and slavery and sexual assault and sexual abuse, that would be considered a system. That actually is a form of racism, right? So that actually would qualify these people, if they are guilty of what we believe they've done, under racism, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's see. Let's skip past some of this. Whitney Wetzel, a spokesperson for DHHR, would not say if CPS employee visited the Sissonville children, regardless of lack of documentation. She cited a state code which permits confidentiality in child abuse and neglect proceedings. West Virginia Watch only pursued information about CPS travel records, not anything regarding to children's personal information. And I think they should be allowed that, right? The referral included the department FOIA response, including multiple employees' names who were involved in the initial assessment of the situation, including an initial assessment worker. West Virginia Watch sought mileage records from the state auditor's office for those employees to see if they traveled to the Sissonville residence. The auditor's office processed payments for mileage for state employees, including some CPS workers. So that would be easy to track that. Easy to present it, easy to track it. If they went, they're going to get paid for it. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be driving and not want to claim their mileage. So, yeah. The auditor's office processes payments for mileage for state employees, including some CPS workers. As the public and media aren't privy to child case information, Mileage records serve as an accountability marker in the state's child welfare response, and that's another thing that needs to get sewed up and fixed. That's a loophole. They need to fix that. Kaylee Cart, the state auditor's deputy chief of staff, confirmed that none of the listed employees traveled. Let me say that again. None of the listed employees traveled to the Sissonville address. West Virginia families are more than twice as likely than families in other states to be referred to child welfare and 3 times as likely to be investigated, according to a report from the West Virginia Center on Budget and Policy. Again, I'm getting this from westvirginiawatch.com. Don't argue with me. Go to their website, contact the author, and argue with them. This is the information that they're putting out there as factual. Why do people want to come to my channel and get mad at me for speaking on what they're going to use against these people in court? It's beyond me, right? Look at this. Let me see if I can make this picture bigger on the screen, because I want y'all to understand that human children, regardless of their freaking race, was living in this bull crap. Look at this. Locked up, chained up, right? Can I swap this picture? I don't know if I can swap this picture out, but I can bring up another picture. Let me remove that one. Let's show y'all this. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger on the screen so you guys can see it. Y'all see this? And let me point out something else, because we're getting ready to talk about this here in just a second. That picture that just went across the screen, it's okay. We're going to come back. Hold on. Let me show you this one. Hold on. And yes, she's smiling. I don't think this lady is taking this stuff seriously at all. Guys, take a look at this. You said your barn for your horses look better than that. Isn't that something? Look at this. Let's go to the next picture, because this is going to be a key piece of information. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended. I didn't mean to say that. I did. I want y'all to look at this, because this is something that they're also going to use in court, because I believe that when the police showed up, they were saying like the people were trying to say that the children didn't have access to get out of this barn. And so Donald Lance and Whitefeather were trying to say that they left the key inside of this locked up barn where the kids could get out whenever they wanted to. So they put this key there, and there was a picture taken after the fact. And they were trying to use this to show, look, there was a key there. They could get out whenever they wanted to. But initially, when they went to investigate, this key was not there. That's a key, pun intended, key piece of information. Everybody catch that? Because we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. CPS has history of not promptly investigating child abuse and neglect. We'll skip that part. They're talking about the cases here. There's a lot of information there. Y'all go to their website and look that up. I'm going to read my document from WMmetronews.com. I'm going to read this one. A Sissonville couple accused of allegedly locking children up in a barn and forcing them to work are back behind bars, and the bond is more than double to what they had already been given, and is now set at $500,000 each. So any money that they did try to turn in, I think one of their children tried to accumulate their bond, posted it, and now that money is being held, which is awesome. That's great, because they need to figure out where these people are getting all this damn money from. I don't know whether it's out of sex trafficking children, slave labor, whatever you want to call it. I think that's great that they're holding on to that money to find out what's really going on. So Donald Ray Lance, 63 years old, Jeanne K. Whitefeather, 62 years old, appear in Kanawha County Court Tuesday, pleading not guilty to over a dozen new charges against them, including human trafficking of a minor, use of a minor child in forced labor, and child neglect, creating substantial risk of serious bodily injury or death. And again, it's already been confirmed that they adopted 5 black children and were abusing these 5 black children based on their race. That's what we have discovered so far as factual, that they were black. Okay? Kanawha County Circuit Judge Mary Claire Akers said that she believes that the couple's previous bond of $200K was not enough. Along with human trafficking and neglect was serious risk of bodily injury or death. I don't find that the bond to be sufficient, according to Akers. Lance and Whitefeather were first arrested last October after a wellness check led to the discovery of 2 of the couple's 5 adopted children. I'm going to say 5 adopted black children were living in deplorable conditions, locked in a shed on a Sissonville property on Cheyenne Lane. The indictment also alleges human rights violations, alleging the adopted children, who were black, look up the document, wvmetronews.com, hashtag not my words. Please hit that thumbs up if you guys are listening right now to support this channel so more people can see this. I want to make sure that y'all hear this. I'm going to read it again. The indictment alleges human rights violations, alleging the adopted children, who were black, were specifically targeted by the couple and forced to work because of their race. Akers said it's an indictment she's never seen under never seen before during her time as a judge. It alleges human trafficking, human rights violations, the use of forced labor, Akers said. Human rights violations specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race, and they were used basically as slaves from what the indictment alleges. So the rest of this I can skip. Let's go to my last document. This is datausa.io, the tagline being Sissonville, West Virginia. Make sure you guys look this up. And thank you to whoever it was that emailed me this. I don't have it on record right now, but I would love to give you a shout out, but maybe I don't want to put your information out there. Let me tell you this. In 2022, Sissonville, West Virginia, for those who don't believe this is a race thing, for all of these good people out there, these good old American people out there, America, that thinks that this is all BS. In 2022, Sissonville, West Virginia had a population of 2.68K people with a median age of 47.9, just under 50 years old, which is roughly about their average, and a median household income of $54,000, $55,000 pretty much. Between 2021 and 2022, the population of Sissonville, West Virginia declined from 3,342 to 2,680, a 20% decrease, and its median household income grew from basically $50,000 to $55,000, which is a 15% increase. The 5 largest ethnic groups in Sissonville, West Virginia are white or non-Hispanic, 98.1%. White people at 98.1%. Hispanic at 1.6%. Non-Hispanic 0.336%. Hispanic at 0%, and Black or African American non-Hispanic at 0%. Okay? None of the households in Sissonville, West Virginia reported speaking a non-English language at home as their primary shared language. This does not include the potential multilingual nature of households, but only the primary self-reported language spoken by all members of the household. 100% of residents in Sissonville, West Virginia are U.S. citizens. In 2022, the median property value of Sissonville, West Virginia was $150,000, and the home ownership rate was 72.6%. Most people in Sissonville, West Virginia drove alone to work, and the average commute time was about 22 minutes. The average car ownership in Sissonville, West Virginia was 1 car per household. Now, I want you guys to understand that is a huge, huge disparity in race in this small area, Okay? Let me give you guys the fair usage, and thank you for those who were just so awesome for emailing me that information, because I thought it was real interesting. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And I almost forgot. I missed a big part of information before I show you guys these news videos. Do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. We want to have one thumb up for everybody watching. It allows YouTube to share more of our videos so more people can see that we're live so we can share this content, okay? Forgot to tell y'all about this. In a previous statement, in a previous statement made to the court, Whitefeather, the woman, alleged that the barn where the 14 and 16-year-old kids were found locked in was a teenage clubhouse and that they were not locked inside. That's point number one. Second point, neighbors also reported that the children were forced to perform farm labor and were not permitted inside the residence. They were not allowed to go in the big house. Don't that sound racist and slavery-like? Neighbors also deputies said that they found the two teenagers locked in the shed with only a small RV porta potty and no running water. The 16-year-old told deputies that they had been locked in the building for approximately 12 hours and were last given food at around 6 a.m. that day. The children were also forced to sleep on the concrete floor of the shed without any mattress or padding, which if they did have that, they would have found it, right? For those who keep saying that my information is incorrect. Court documents stated that the 14-year-old boy had open sores on his bare feet and that the children smelled dirty and had foul body odor. In addition, they said they found the 9-year-old girl inside the main home, inside the big house, for lack of better words. And 3 hours from when the law enforcement first arrived, Lance came home with the 11-year-old boy. Whitefeather came home after about an hour and led deputies to a 6-year-old girl who had been with acquaintances from the couple's church. A trial is set for this couple on September the 9th for those who we're going to do an update. All right, here we go. Let's get it.
And now to a WSAZ investigation that we've been telling you about since Tuesday about two children deputies say were found locked inside a barn, like an outbuilding in Kanawha County.
And tonight we are learning more about what led to that discovery. And for the first time, we're hearing the 911 call from a neighbor who says they have been repeatedly reporting the problem to CPS. News Channel 3's Kim Rafferty joins us. And Kim, deputies tell us multiple reports have been made.
It's a disturbing discovery, deputies say they made Monday night in the Sissonville area of Kanawha County. Deputies say the 911 call came in at about 5:45 Monday evening. WSAZ has obtained that 911 call, and we have chosen to distort the caller's voice to protect their identity.
But there is a family that we have been calling CPS on multiple times. He has two kids locked in an outbuilding. They've been in there for days. They're in that with the red door. It's padlocked. Locked with a padlock? Yes, I've seen him open it, say something to the kids, and I watched him lock it back. The kids are locked in there. You can't miss it. It's a red, two double doors. They're red. They're locked in that, in the barn.
Deputy WSAZ has obtained that 911 call, and we have chosen to distort the caller's voice to protect their identity.
But there is a family that we have been calling CPS on multiple times. He has two kids locked in an outbuilding. They've been in there for days. They're in that with the red door. It's padlocked. Locked with a padlock? Yes, I've seen him open it, say something to the kids, and
My bad. I'll replay what I just said. I want you guys, I'm going to replay this so you guys can hear this 911 call again, so I do apologize. I didn't have my mic on, but we got it on now. This is the 911 that called that came in. They saw something and said something. People reported it, okay? This is the 911 call, so why didn't nobody take this serious is beyond me. Let's listen again.
Protect their identity.
But there is a family that we have been calling CPS on multiple times. He has 2 kids locked in an outbuilding. They've been in there for days. They're in that with the red door. It's padlocked. Locked with a padlock? Yes, I've seen him open it, say something to the kids, and I watched him lock it back. The kids are locked in there. You can't miss it. It's a red, 2 double doors. They're red. They're locked in that, in the barn.
Deputies say they went to the barn after that 911 call, and that is when they found the 2 teens inside with no access to food, water, a bathroom, bed, and no way out. A couple of hours later, the deputies say these 2 relatives, Donald Lance and Jean Whitefeather, arrived back at the home and were arrested on felony child neglect charges. WSAZ reported that a couple calls were also made on the home at Cheyenne Lane involving abuse of the children that lived there back in May and September. Kanawha County deputies said they investigated those complaints and say the 2 prior ones were unfounded. The 3rd call, however, Donald Lance and Jean Whitefeather were not home, and that is when deputies discovered extreme neglect the children faced. I also spoke with the West Virginia Child Advocacy Network, which works with CPS and law enforcement to investigate allegations of abuse and neglect.
So it's often happening in homes, it's happening in neighborhoods, so neighbors need to look out for each other.
Kate Flack is the
A Sissonville couple accused of human trafficking and forced labor of adopted children, including 2 teenagers who were found locked in a barn in Sissonville. Well, they're back in jail.
Now, during their arraignment this afternoon, Judge Mary Claire Akers significantly increased the bonds for Jean Whitefeather and Donald Lance. Anna Saunders joins us live in the studio tonight with the reason. Anna?
Dave, Gina, before setting their bonds to $500,000 cash each, Judge Akers said she has never seen an indictment quite like this, and that not only alleges the trafficked black children adopting them from shelters and foster care, forcing them to work, but that they specifically targeted them because of their race.
Jeannie Whitefeather and Donald Lance came in on their own for their arraignments, but left in cuffs after Judge Mary Claire Akers set their bonds at $500,000, more than double what they had already paid.
And I don't think I've ever seen an indictment like this in all of my time. It alleges human trafficking, human rights violations, the use of forced labor, human rights violations specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race.
Y'all heard that, right? Let's go to the next one.
Well, the adopted mother of 5 children accused of keeping some of them in a locked shed in Sissonville was back in court today. And we got our first look into the shed where 2 teenagers were found at the beginning of the month.
Now, despite attempts from her attorney to reduce Jeannie Whitefeather's bond, it will remain at $200,000. Anna Saunders joins us live in the studio to walk us through what was argued. Anna?
That's right. Whitefeather's new attorney, Mark Plants, came to court today with pictures of the shed in Sissonville, calling it a teen clubhouse and hangout. He also brought Whitefeather's brother, who took these photos, and testified there was a key found in the shed a week and a half later that would have allowed the children to get out. These claims, though, not enough for Judge Mary Claire Akers to lessen the bond.
In an unusual move for a bond hearing, Jeannie Whitefeather's new defense attorney, Mark Plants, called a witness to the stand, Whitefeather's brother, to make the argument that the case where children were found locked in a barn in Sissonville has been misrepresented.
On its face, sounds atrocious. However, there are 2 sides to every story.
Whitefeather's brother, Mark Hughes, also from Washington State but recently moved to Chesapeake, Ohio, testified that on the phone, Whitefeather told him there was a key in the shed for the kids to let themselves out. A week and a half after Whitefeather and her husband were arrested, Hughes visited the shed and took these photos of the inside, including this one showing a key on the table.
That is the key, exactly how we found it. And when I saw it, I went, holy crap, is that really the key to this door? And how could the police possibly have gone through this and not noticed this key?
Y'all hear that, right? Like, he don't even look believable in his eyes. Like, he looked like he's just talking bull crap. Sometimes you can just see it in a person's demeanor. I want y'all to hear this again. This key just, how did they miss this key there? They wouldn't have.
A week and a half after Whitefeather and her husband were arrested, Hughes visited the shed and took these photos of the inside, including this one showing a key on the table.
That is the key, exactly how we found it. And when I saw it,
Matter of fact, if they find out that his punk ass is lying, I think he needs about 5 years in prison for lying for helping to perpetuate this. What do y'all think about that? And I put up a poll in the chat also. Check out that poll. Do y'all think that he should go to jail for lying if he's lying? As I think he does. 5 years in jail, in prison. Ruin his life. Ruining children's lives. Because this, you got to start taking a stand, man. People who are helping to abuse children, they got to go. They all got to go. They got horrible souls. They're breeding children to have this type of mentality. I think people like him got to go if he's lying, and I believe he is.
I went, holy crap, is that really the key to this door? And how could the police possibly have gone through this and not noticed this key 3 feet from the door?
Assistant prosecuting attorney Fawn Cushman asking a similar question, pointing out that it had been a week and a half after the arrests had been made that these photos had been taken, alleging there was no proof this key was there the day of the arrests.
I don't know how it got there.
And you have absolutely no idea the condition that the children were found in when the police arrived, because you weren't there.
I was not there at the time, but I've spent an awful lot of time around these children.
Hughes testified that the last time he saw the children was at the beginning of September. The children told deputies that being locked in the shed was an everyday thing. A neighbor who called 911 that day said she had witnessed them being locked inside that day and had raised several.
Look at what somebody typed in the chat. Somebody said he put the key there and took a picture. He was told where the key was, from my understanding, from what it seems like. Put the key there, took a picture. Oh my gosh, I can't look. There's the key, y'all. Can y'all believe that the police missed this key right there? This is why usually in police situations where they will rope off, tape off an area, lock it up so people can't have access to it, so they can't do stuff like this to manipulate and lie in a court case. This is exactly why.
Concerns prior about the children's well-being. The responding deputy recently testified that the conditions inside were repulsive, with a smell that made her eyes water.
You know what? Somebody in the chat said the lock was on the outside of the door, which I believe it probably was too. And if that's the case, then that makes this an open and shut case, no pun intended. Because if it was on the outside, what good does having a key? And I hope that they use that in court to make that man look stupid. If the lock is on the outside, then what difference does it make having a key on the inside? I hope they make him look stupid. And I hope he gets jail time too, dumbass.
If there was a key on the desk that allowed her to enter and exit the shed, then why were the police outside for 2 hours and had to force entry?
Plants responded by arguing the possibility that children's statements to police were not credible and that they could have gotten out the whole time.
There's a key inside, and the 14 and 16 want their teenage clubhouse to go down there and play around. And a jury will make that decision. Thank you.
Judge Mary.
I agree. You said tampering with physical evidence / failure to report a crime, lock the brother up too. How many of y'all agree with that? People in the chat said, do you believe, and I asked the poll and I said, do you believe that these people are racist slavers? And we had 98% of people who said, yes, they believe that they are, and 2% who said no. I'm just curious in the chat, because y'all probably not going to type it, but I'm just curious, who believes that these people are not racist slavers? I'm just saying. Step out of your feelings for a moment. I'm just curious who believes that they're not.
Claire Akers, however, siding with the state, arguing that.
So that would have to mean that some people in the chat believe that these people really are using this place as a teenage clubhouse that they couldn't escape from.
Whitefeather, who moved here.
I want y'all to think about this. What if somebody did that to y'all children and had them in what they call a quote-unquote teenage clubhouse? What if y'all found out that some old black man and some old black woman had locked y'all 5 white children up and called it a teenage clubhouse that you could not leave from, that you were locked up in. I want y'all to think about that for a moment. Black people got your white children locked up. How would that come across?
About a year ago from Washington State was a flight risk, and if she owned a house valued at $375,000 with plans to move to Beckley, finances should not be a concern.
$200,000 cash is necessary. I understand what you're saying about.
It's been more than 4 months since 2 children were found in a barn in Sissonville without access.
Months after 2 children were found locked inside a closed-off area of a barn in Sissonville, and the children's adopted parents, Donald Lance and Jean Whitefeather, were charged with felony gross child neglect. Federal Magistrate Judge Cheryl Eifert has ordered Child Protective Services to provide information about the situation in ongoing class action litigation against the state of West Virginia. Eifert's order, filed Monday, grants the plaintiff's request for production of documents from Child Protective Services requested in November. Those documents include, quote, all documents and communications regarding the adoptive children of Donald Ray Lance and Jean K. Whitefeather discovered in Sissonville, West Virginia, including any documents and communications regarding any investigation into allegations of abuse and neglect. In January, the state objected to that request, calling those documents, quote, not relevant to the subject matters, since the Sissonville kids were not part of the class action litigation, going on to describe the quest as overbroad, unduly burdensome, and not proportional to the need of the case because it, quote, would require defendants to spend dozens of staff and or contractor hours to search servers, emails, and paper files to locate all documents and communications.
Skip through a little bit of this.
Washington State and in Sissonville, where human trafficking occurred. But what happened today is Kanawha County Chief Circuit Court Judge Mary Claire Akers signed a protective order for that money, meaning it must stay with the sheriff's office until the courts decide if it will be seized or not.
We're not trying to forfeit the money without due process. We just want to protect it and preserve it until we've had a chance to litigate the claim.
A 16-count indictment was recently returned against Lance and Whitefeather, going far beyond their initial charge of child neglect. Investigators now say the couple sought out and adopted 5 black children from a shelter, targeting them for their race to do forced labor. The complaint said Lance and Whitefeather first had them at this 80-acre ranch in Washington State and then moved to the Sissonville home. This is where deputies, while doing a welfare check last fall, found 2 teenagers locked in a barn in what investigators called deplorable conditions. After they were arrested, the 2 sold the Washington home for about $700,000 and the Sissonville home for about $300,000. Prosecutors believe they used that money for bond.
How many of you people believe that this was actually a clubhouse rather than a prison? A slave prison. Y'all believe this is a clubhouse? I posted a poll in the chat so y'all can see it. Click that poll. Either yes, you believe it's a clubhouse, or no, you don't. Let me know what you think. Just be honest. Don't troll. Don't be funny. Just really post what you believe. Truly, truly, just post what you believe. I'm just curious what you think.
And the state's position is that these assets were used to maintain and harbor minors in violation of the human trafficking statute. Our position is that's not true, and we look forward to court in which we can prove otherwise.
So for now, the money is supposed to remain untouched until the court proceedings play out. Whitefeather's defense attorney Mark Plants and Kanawha County Assistant Prosecutor Chris Kavaniak both said seeking forfeiture for human trafficking, though common in federal court, will be uncharted waters for.
Again, I want you guys to remember, put your own children. If you're a white, I want y'all to put your children in this situation, and let's just say that your children were in CPS custody for some reason, and some black couple adopted your children, and you find out that they have been locked in a barn and don't have access to running water, and they use the bathroom on the floor in a pot or a pan. And these people, these black people, refer to it as a clubhouse that you can exit anytime you want, but except that it was locked up and there was a key that was planted there, which that key wasn't there before. Would you think that this is a clubhouse if black people did this to your white children? What do y'all think?
All in circuit court.
I've never had one in 20 years. The human trafficking statute is relatively new. Chris Kravaniak's the prosecutor. He's formerly a federal prosecutor where they do this all the time. He's very competent, knows what he's doing. But this is an issue of first impression for me, and I think the court. I don't want to. When I looked this up, I couldn't find anything about it, and you notice that Mr. Kravaniak said the same thing, that in state court, this really hasn't been done before.
Now, with this $400,000 now protected, it can't be used at all right now while the protective order is in place. But if the state wins out in this and the
since her arrest. Kanawha County's assistant prosecuting attorney, Deborah Rusnak, spoke about the testimony involving Whitefeather's case.
You heard the testimony today. What these children were going through is frankly horrifying and despicable. There's no other way to describe it.
On the stand, the deputy that responded to the call on October 2nd described the shed where she found 2 children locked inside at Whitefeather's preliminary hearing.
And one of them replied, "Ma'am, I'm unable to open the door from the inside."
Deputy H.K. Burdett describes what she says it looked like inside the shed.
I was repulsed, for the lack of a better term. As soon as the door was open, the heat from inside hit us. The smell it made my eyes water.
Burdett says in her testimony that the oldest child told her she lived in the shed.
There was a table and 1 chair, no running water, no circulating air, no beds. The toilet for the children looked like a hospital pan or like a camping toilet.
Burdett said she found 6 to 7 deep freezers of food in a section of the barn that could not be accessed, and she spotted a 3rd child in dangerous conditions in the window of the home.
I don't believe there was any circulating air in the house either. It was a very nice house. There was hardly furniture in it. Very hot, very, very empty.
And again, let me close out with this. I want y'all to remember, even though I do believe that some people are trolling, but maybe some people were being real with their opinion. This teenage clubhouse, they weren't even allowed to go in the main house. Think about that. And I hope that we truly get justice for these children, these 5 black children, these children, regardless of whatever their race is. I think that these children were sexually assaulted, sexually abused, sexually used. Not only for manual labor, I think that was just kind of the additional portion of it. But if there's a bigger network of this stuff going on where these people are making all this kind of money, where they got hundreds of thousands of dollars for bail and bond and cash bonds, there's something very, very wrong here. And for that family member of theirs to get up and say, "Oh, yeah, there was a key there. I found a key." I think that man deserves prison time. Now, will he actually get it? Will we actually get justice here? I want you guys to let me know what you think in the comment section. If any more developments come, they have a court date, I believe, in the first week of September or the second week of September. We will do an update. We'll let you know what else we'll find out, and then we'll just go from there. But we hope and pray for those children. I would love to just hear their story. Let's get the transcript from the children. You ain't necessarily got to show their face, but I would love to see the transcript of what they described that they saw. So we will absolutely be following up on this case. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to AFC Podcast. We'll be doing another update on this very, very soon. And get to the bottom, because we ain't about to let nobody abuse our children anymore in the United States of America. We have got to see something and say something, report it, and let's get some action against people like this. Okay? Thank you.